are like, well, what's the game design? Oh, you're changing it to effectively homogenize it and fit a little bit better into the existing shooter market instead of keep the USP that people really loved your game for originally, even though it's like there's objective ways substantially better. It's like subjectively, it's like, where's the soul? Where's the unique? Where's the creativity that made Overwatch special?
Welcome back, everybody. So, lots of people have played Overwatch 2 at a press event, and the reviews in progress are out. That does mean that with all the consternation of the last while, we can finally talk about what people are actually saying about the game. Now, to be sure, PC Gamer have definitely caught a lot of headlines. Right, they've definitely got a lot of attention because of what their headline is and a lot of what is in their review, because it is the one that is significantly more critical. It's the one that I think does actually focus on a lot of the things that me and you tend to focus on here. Yeah. So that was always interesting. But I think one thing that is very, very sure is that Overwatch 2 is definitely going to be a fairly controversial game. It's definitely going to be a pretty damn different game to Overwatch 1. And I think it's fair to say that a lot of the Overwatch 1 audience who are maybe newer to FPSs and maybe just like playing a support or something like that, I have a feeling they're just not going to enjoy this game as much.
Yeah, there are two ways you can basically broadly describe it. One is Overwatch 2 is exactly what Overwatch needed to refresh itself and find a new audience, hit different people, and feel like something actually new. But in that same vein, you could also say Overwatch 2 completely forgets its roots, has no idea what it's meant to be, and is lost in this kind of, why are you completely changing your audience at a snap notice when you're becoming a free-to-play game? What's the logic here? And the actual truth, as always, lies somewhere in the middle of these two things. And that's where you'll see all these reviews we'll go through are just basically lots of people on different parts of the line, but there is a through line that we will come to. And the through line is pretty important because, and this is something you'll think about reviews, and you get this specifically from the PC Gamer review, because PC Gamer, more than a lot of these, very culturally minded, right? PC Gamer is not going to go, this game was good. They're going to say, this game was good, but here's how it stands in the world of PC gaming as a cultural touchstone, etc., etc. And that's the thing where games media often does that. Games media, like we do, we don't come here and go, this game was good, 7 out of 10. We talk about a game and go, well, what does this mean for the industry? What does this mean for the players? What does this mean for trends going forward, trends going backwards? How does this relate to, the past, the present, the future? And that's what games media will do. It's not about Overwatch 2 as an individual game out of context. It's about Overwatch 2 as a Blizzard game in the cultural landscape of now with all of the context.
Yeah. And that's where, it's interesting when you go to IGN.
Yeah.
They were broadly positive. They'd previously given Overwatch 1 a 10, which I wouldn't give it a 10, but it depends what you even mean by 10. Because to some people, they wouldn't give something a 10, they wouldn't give it 100, but they might give it 5 stars because review systems are a bit weird. But their general thoughts were that it does evolve the format enough to call it Overwatch 2. But they did call into question, what sorts of things here are a good improvement for improvement's sake versus a change to facilitate the new structure of the game, and that is something potentially worth being mixed on.
Yeah, because a sequel can be a sequel and still be worse, as people who love Devil May Cry are very aware of with 2.
On the shift to 5v5, well, the new heroes are fun, the roster's well-balanced, and it's impressive that they do have a fun, well-balanced roster given the size of the game. Which, from just playing it at a press event, I think you could see that being a fairly reasonable thing. And roughly their conclusion is that, Overwatch 2, it is a fun game. It's not as good as it could be. Hopefully it'll mature on the basis of these new, fairly good foundations. Now, this is something that we can rather starkly contrast with PC Gamer. Which I just didn't feel it was right to summarize these down because Tyler has some rather incredible paragraphs for us.
The prose in this review is absolutely fantastic. And some of that's because I also enjoy the scathing element of it.
It's theatrical.
But it's also really good.
Overwatch 2 is a sequel that, intentionally or not, is trying to bury its predecessor alive. The original Overwatch is still in there, bruised and broken, but the weight of Blizzard's commercial and competitive expectations keeps piling up. It's a sequel that attempts to renew its predecessor with layers of unnecessary complexity and refuses to reach inward to find and nourish the ambitious and joyful FPS beneath it all. Instead of synthesizing what made the original game enviable and revitalizing it, the sequel takes what was left and wraps it up in a monetization scheme that could finally kill it for good. And I think that is an encapsulation of what people's fears were. Because I think for a lot of people, they've just felt, okay, so you're making it like a bit harder, a bit more like esportsy in order to get that type of sweaty player, and then you're going to make it free to play for the money. Overwatch League and cosmetics, yay! That's at least the cultural perception of Blizzard and this game. And as you said at the start, and as I think is obvious by any of the comments under just about any video we do, it is the cultural perception that, and it's the way that I titled that video, Blizzard have lost the narrative.
Yep.
They have. Because I think a game like, Valorant or something could do a lot of the same things that they do, and it would be treated differently because Blizzard lost control of the narrative.
Yeah, this is Overwatch 2 as a story, less Overwatch 2 as a game specifically, but it is also that as a game because as it goes on, again in his own words, now almost every hero, including its 3 new ones, have been imbued with high-skill mechanics that feel tailored to esports pros, rather than the average players with no desire to play at that level. Who exactly is this game supposed to be for?
That's the thing. I honestly think it is more for me than it was in the past. Like, I'm happy to say, I don't think this is really the direction that's ideal for, I don't know, say my partner loved Overwatch, never played FPS. That's one example. But for somebody like me who, I grew up playing Call of Duty 2, running around with Car 98K, scoping people. That's what I did in a PC LAN center. So, higher skill cap, sweaty gameplay, that's actually entirely up my alley, and I will enjoy that more. Not everybody will, though. Especially not a lot of the new audience of Overwatch, because it's fair to say they expanded the genre.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's important here when you think about Overwatch 2 culturally and as a story and for the audience, right? It's not about shifting to go for a different audience with a different style of gameplay. People liked Overwatch because it was something new, it was something different. It was, hey, here's an FPS that's heavily inspired by the success of the MOBA.
Yeah.
And that was fantastic. That's why, I also love shooters, but I really liked Overwatch at launch because it was something new, it was something different. Because there's so many shooters in the market. It's like, do you want to play Overwatch 2 or Apex? Let's play Apex.
Yeah.
That's the fundamental thing where they're trying to compete where they didn't have to compete before. They had their own niche, they had their own unique selling point. And according to Tyler's opinion, they've thrown that in the bin.
And it's one of those interesting things where Overwatch 1, of course, changed over time. And I think we definitely enjoyed it a lot more when we played it in and around the launch and the following year.
As did mostly everyone, it seems.
Yeah. Then as time goes on, though, really bad metas ended up developing, right? I remember the one that was very tank and support heavy that kind of just made matches extremely boring to the point where it was almost a threat to the Overwatch League itself. That was pretty damn rough. And I know that is something that I would essentially hate playing. So it's change. It's change that's good for me, but I have a feeling it won't particularly be good for a lot of people who would have loved Overwatch 1 at launch, but would look at, say, Valorant and think, well, I know that game is not for me because I want the opposite of CSGO DNA. Now, there is one thing I think that, it's the bit that, people may worry about, right? And that is, of course, Overwatch 2 is lined with bars to fill and XP to gain in its new challenge system and seasonal battle pass. It's worth saying, seasonal battle pass, I believe it's £110 if you wanted to buy all of the tiers.
It's about that, yeah.
And the thing is, it's a 9-week long pass. And if you want that, super cool, amazing Genji skin at the very bottom, then, buckle up, because you're going to have to play a hell of a lot of Overwatch 2 to progress through that. Now, Tyler says, daily challenges seem to be randomized like most other games, and weekly, seasonal, and lifetime challenges are universal goals that reward trinkets like fucking profile titles and icons. Wow. Played Reinhardt, even when he wouldn't be particularly effective, but he did that because he wanted to get his mitigation challenge done. He wouldn't blame other people for doing that too. That's just like in Halo Infinite, when somebody would have a challenge and they're like, I need to do this challenge in order to get my battle pass progression. But I am not good with the gun that this challenge wants me to use. I do not like using this gun. And you may say, well, it's just like just like a challenge in Call of Duty. Incentivize you to try a new gun, try something different. But it's Halo. You want to win. It's a competitive feeling game. And a lot of people just felt that challenge system was disruptive to their core gameplay. And certainly when I looked at those screenshots from Overwatch, like, yeah, the challenge system is rough. And the pacing of which, because you can earn Overwatch coins by doing the challenges. That's a premium currency. But it is such that persistent use will let you buy like every other season pass.
Yeah, there's something I went over them a little bit with a fine-tooth comb with Connor downstairs while just kind of waiting. And there was plenty of challenges that looked interesting, right? So there's definitely, I wouldn't hit it too hard. They've definitely avoided like the major pitfalls. Especially like the seasonal ones have like longer tails. So it's not going to be like a daily. At least it didn't seem to be dailies or really egregious. But it still is daily, weekly, like get your battle pass XP. Because there didn't seem to be any kind of like banking system. And that's the thing that's frustrating because you see a lot of like games that are the kind of daily quest stuff, like Lost Ark, as an example, has that like 2.5 day bank system where you just, you haven't logged in for 2 days. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's actually genuinely fine. You can do all your dailies later on. And even like World of Warcraft did that with callings. Where it's like, yeah, you've got a 3 day kind of, you can, as long as you log into your stuff every 3 days, that's okay. We're not going to force you to do this stuff every single day. They do that with other things, as like rares and stuff like that. But there is a little bit of that baked in, and they don't seem to have that. But generally, the challenges they didn't seem really scuffed. They didn't seem as bad as Halo Infinite, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But then, obviously, Tyler does go on to say, this transformation, turning a game that was once about finding the best way to collaborate with your teammates into a solo-minded hunt to efficiently complete your dailies, it guts individual victories of their weight. And that's just, well, actually, I'll just continue because this is great. I was about to go off, but no, I'll just continue. Every match is a step towards a meta level goal. Task lists that supersede the organic fun of teamwork and ask you to chase multi-kills, keep up the shield for longer than you should. Spend the entire match overhealing your allies instead of using your other supportive abilities. Overwatch 2 dilutes the spirit of its interlocking hero battles and locks its most impressive skins and cosmetics behind playing the way the battle pass suggests for hours a day. Which is fundamentally what everyone feared when this shit was going to be free to play.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. You did what everyone expected of you, but it wasn't a good expectation.
And it will... it'll break up people's motivational psychology. Like we keep on saying this. Battle Pass fatigue is a real thing. Mm-hmm. And I think there was a time where people would call this stuff out about a Battle Pass. People would say, yeah, what, do you want loot boxes? Like, they have to make money somehow. This is better than that. But as time has went on, I really do feel like the Battle Pass fatigue, cultural idea, I feel like it's getting penetration, it's getting momentum. People are starting to think about that. Like, look, let's just say that you are a Blizzard Entertainment mono gamer, right? Like, you played their games as a kid, you played Warcraft 3, and you want to play all the Blizzard games. Well, I mean, you're going to have, of course, the pass in Hearthstone, you're going to have the pass in Diablo 4, you're going to have the pass in Overwatch 2. And if these passes are expecting a lot of gameplay, we're getting to a stage where it's becoming... see, you could always just say, well, don't buy the pass and just play the game. And that is, like, absolutely right. But the things that the company are bending the gameplay towards making you want to do, which is the thing that makes them money, is the Battle Pass, right? So these Battle Passes are all chirping for our attention. How can people just play enough games? Because if you do try to have this varied gaming diet, every single game is just going to be, like, you're going to be so bombarded, with stores and battle passes. And look, I know they need to make money somehow, but when everyone is doing a big, long, infinite live service game with a battle pass, and, I mean, you're almost going to have in your calendar, like, all right, the Overwatch Battle Pass lasts from, now to 9 weeks, and then my Overwatch Pass, okay, that ends December 3rd, and, oh, shit, what about my Halo Pass? It's okay, that lasts 3 years, when the next patch comes out. But you get my point, right? Like, goddamn, man, it's fatiguing.
I know enough people who play multiple gacha games, and they're like, no, that's, how do you have a life? Not even that, because it's like spent so long. I was like, what? You're just literally like chasing the whims of these companies that are like literally just artificially grabbing your attention. And like, Yeah, I know, but it's all right. It's fun enough. You're like, Jesus. I wish I could feel like that sometimes.
Pretty blue pilled.
Yeah.
Not that, and whenever I say blue pill, red pill, you know, I'm meaning this in the sense
In the
of
Matrix
the
sense.
Matrix, the movie.
Yeah.
Not the interesting directions that all those things have taken
Yes.
in modern times. But to me, it just feels like all of the like, I mean, if you think about even in the Matrix, it's the robots basically stealing your attention. The machines literally are stealing your attention by keeping you in the Matrix, right? I feel like video game wise, the battle passes and all of these like engagement mechanics, they are the Matrix, right?
They are.
And it's just like what you were saying with your mate is into all the gacha games. It's like, yes, I'm playing all these gacha games. Yes, they are preying on me for money every single day. But you know what? I'm taking the blue pill because these gacha games help time move forward.
Like the cute girls like.
That's it. Do you want time to move forward while causing less pain? Take the blue pill, buy the battle pass. Eat the crickets.
Which is weird because it's not even like the red pill in this equivalent is any like more difficult and more dangerous. It's literally
the
just
red pill
it's
buy
literally-
indie games.
Yeah, it's literally just getting Game Pass and playing Metal Hellsinger every couple hours. Like,
Yeah.
But that's the thing where that is, it's that whole race of the F2P nightmare system that is a battle pass is just it's there. It's artificially grabbing your attention. It's artificial as opposed to the natural of the game being good. That's harder, so companies don't rely on it because. Otherwise, you have to learn to make a really good, engrossing game, and that's hard. That's hard.
If this is the Matrix, does that mean like Joseph Fares? Is he Jesus? I mean Neo.
I think so.
Okay, good,
Maybe.
good. Well, I hope he gets a better ending than Neo did. Oh man, right. So this is just hitting on the sorts of things that do make you and me worry. That give both of us fatigue, and I think that really is a pity. I remember watching RB and the Chief and thinking that Recon Armor was cool. If you told me that Recon Armor was just buying a whole bunch of tiers, then that would be lame. And like as an example of this, there's a new Spider-Verse movie coming out, by the way, Into the Spider-Verse, despite being a Sony Pictures movie, is actually fucking incredible.
It really is.
Love that. And there's a new one coming out. So, of course, it has a tie-in with a cultural katamari, Fortnite. Now, if you want to get Gwen, because you look at all the characters in that, like, Gwen is this like new cool looking Spider-Man or Spider person, Spider Peoples. Now, she's the very bottom. So you'd have to play a lot of rounds of Fortnite. I think it was Darth Vader in the previous one as well. Or, of course, you just buy the skips. Because playing enough Fortnite to earn Gwen is going to take you a bloody long time. And that's exactly what it's doing with Mythic Genji. So I would love to see the stats, for Mythic Genji owners. What percentage... If I could just have, like, a little graph of Genji ownership, and I'd like to see the distribution of XP, Battle Pass XP gained for all the different people who own Genji. Just as a way of showing, like, oh yeah, this person, they got, like, 40 levels and bought the other lot. Because I have a feeling that... a lot of people, will do that. And you might say, oh, yeah, so the Genji skin's actually 110 quid. Well, it's like, no, not really. And they are for the whales. Because remember, they don't make this battle pass for you to grind and get all the things. Like, they want that because if you are grinding there, then you are providing, you're providing a nice service, filling in queues and actually being there in the game. So that the people who they make money off can log in, quickly find a match, and think, oh, wow, I can get, 30 skins and all this stuff, and a Mythic Genji, and then they just drop all the money at once. You might think that's crazy, but there's people who spent 40, 50 grand on Diablo Immortal.
More than that now, for sure.
Yeah, there was somebody who spent 14 grand on Mass Effect 3 loot boxes. And that's not even a full Nightmare Hellscape live service. That was 2012?
Yeah. That was only at a fraction of EA's par. But now, thankfully, loot boxes are largely dead outside of most situations. So all we have to do is kill battle passes next. We'll have good luck getting that done.
Yeah.
But I definitely need to print that just because it's in my head again. We definitely need to print the EA quote from the Goldman Sachs meeting. I'll put it here behind me so I can just point to it now. But the quote is, let me just find, exactly, yes. Minutes engaged and money spent correlates on almost a 1-to-1 basis. I'm going to say this every day for the rest of my life because it's always going to be relevant to how these games are made.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Keep watching our videos.
Yeah.
With you. To go to the conclusions then, Overwatch 2 doesn't feel ready yet. For everyone who still actively plays Overwatch, the sequel has enough new toys to play with and unlock, but the beating heart of the game I devoted thousands of hours to my life to is a series of misguided balance changes and monetization systems away from flatlining. So this isn't just some fair weather hater. This is someone who spent thousands of hours. Like I spent hundreds of hours probably in Overwatch, certainly not thousands. And it's that thing where, to be honest, I think I'll enjoy Overwatch 2 more than he will, because it does seem like it's game more for me. But at the end of the day, who should the audience be? Someone like me who will never really be that good at a video game, but almost wants to LARP being good at a video game? Or people who just want to hop into Overwatch and just, have a bash, have some fun with their friends like they did with Overwatch 1, because that is what made it so new and refreshing. So it's kind of rough. Overwatch 2 wouldn't be what it is without the game that came before it, and now it's trying to reinvent myself. I just worry about what will be lost when it finally does.
Yeah.
That's it. And for another encapsulation of the gameplay from Games Radar, Overwatch 2 is speedier, deadlier, and more punishing than its predecessors. To me, fuck yeah. To a lot of other people, it'll be like the thing that because I always enjoyed Battlefield. And I'd see a lot of people just be like, I spawn in and I instantly die, this sucks. Now, the thing is, because I was killing you, it was good for me. But I guess that is the thing with Battlefield. Hell, not even, it doesn't have the skill-based matchmaking because you just join a server, right? So it's just you and everyone else in that server, and that's how it is. It's interesting, games and how they hit different audiences.
Yeah.
While the big hatred of skill-based matchmaking does exist, a lot of developers then just kind of think, yeah, but when you guys are pub stomping, we're losing dozens of players. Here's a graph.
Yep.
And they see that data.
That's why stuff like Fortnite will onboard you by throwing you against loads of bots without telling you for a long time, because you want to feel good, because you want to get, oh, look, this is what a win feels like.
Well, either that
good
or,
luck getting one of those again.
Wood tier players.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure. I can't remember. It might be that. I remember playing Realm Royale, winning my first game, and going, that felt a wee bit suspect. Who am I playing against? What's going on? Are these bots? And then I looked at names, like, I'm fairly sure these are bots, and the game never told me they weren't, but it never told me they were. And I'm like, that's certainly interesting. But yeah. I thought it was interesting how Alyssa Mercante for Games Radar finished up by saying, Overwatch 1 is like a deadly tango with ebbs and flows that feel like they're under your control. Overwatch 2 is a firefight. No matter who you pick, unless they're a high health tank, you're going to die a lot. And that's just different game, right?
Yeah.
Different game.
Yeah, and that means that people with, final mouses that are just like a tiny little, people with their fucking 48-gram mouse with their perfect grip and their incredible artisan mouse pad from Japan, who are big FPS sweats, who can perfectly track in Apex, are going to melt you into pieces. Don't worry, they'll melt me into pieces too. But again, it does feel a bit different. That's why I can't wait until Tuesday. I'm definitely going to put a full evening into this, because, it's going to feel like a weird dream version of the game that I played. I don't mean dream as in perfect. I mean everything's a bit different and something's not quite right. Like when I play Soldier, if other people are squishier and I'm more skill shotable, then what's it going to be like? And I think some of that feeling is kind of almost here in Nicole Carpenter and what they said here, which basically is just like the differences don't really feel large enough to call it a new game, and they just sort of highlight with their example, the character of May, just that the things that you're used to have changed. You're going to have to change up your thought processes because it's all just a bit different.
Yeah. It's just that it's changed in a way that feels uncanny, as opposed to quite distinct, because it feels in so many ways the same game, but also very different. This idea of, this game's evolved. It's not changed, it's evolved, and it's evolved in a way that you're not really super entirely fond of.
Yeah. And moving on to Jessica, just kind of talks about how, one was able to actually make her a fan. In some ways, Overwatch 2 delivers this, offering new characters that feel at home among the rest of the season roster, making the 5v5 jump, which is brilliant, and adding a enthralling push mode. So all that sounds good. But these are tweaks and additions in a game that otherwise feels very familiar, and that sameness can oftentimes make this new Overwatch feel more like an update than something brand new. Beyond that, however, it often feels detached from the principles and charm of the original.
And this is the thing you'll notice that very few of these reviewers are talking about super specific, like, hey, this literal gameplay part made me feel like this. They're all talking like feelings and vibes and ideas and how they came across it. Because that seems really contradictory, right? They're tweaks and additions. They're familiar, but it's also different and wrong. And that speaks to me. It is just video game uncanny valley. We're like, this is the Overwatch, but it doesn't look quite right. And like, there's some perception thing in the brain is triggering, going, this isn't Overwatch. It is, but it also isn't.
Yeah. Now, it is fair to say that, like, on 5v5 and Push, like, she enjoyed it. She enjoyed the focus, talking about Push being super tense. Push actually looks really fun to me. So, you know, I'm totally in that. Progression, though, again, as a part of the review code, Blizzard provided me with the first premium battle pass, and at this stage, I'm yet to decide how I feel about it. For Overwatch, hero unlocks basically feels a bit odd, but here we go. However, the idea that players need to log in 10 to 20 hours and prove themselves in order to unlock other heroes feels unnecessary and a bit insulting. This is once again a thing that doesn't feel in the spirit of Overwatch, which encouraged players to explore and experiment freely to find what works best for them. That ethos feels disingenuous now, considering a chunk of the roster is locked away. So that's something where it is going against that original, really just nice, open ethos of Overwatch, but ultimately, we know that that is a part of the on-ramp to playing in ranked. And a lot of this with the first-time user experience we talked about recently, it is Blizzard trying to preserve the integrity of the competitive experience, ensuring that by the time you hit ranked, you're dealing with someone who's played the game for like 15, 20 hours, which is going to be really good for the quality of ranked.
Yep, sure.
But there's a lot of people who maybe enjoyed Overwatch before it turned into a rank splatfest. That's a lot of that casual audience that came in with that game's humongous initial explosion.
And that's the thing, if you examine why, you get to all of these weird principles of like, well, what does ranked do to a game? Oh, well, it suddenly changes the goal. It changes the goal from having fun to winning. That's very, very different. That completely changes all of your like attitudes towards everything. Same with the idea of you change your goal to be getting XP instead of playing the game. And that also changes. And I think there's nothing more indicative of that than watching how players behave in Wrath Classic. Players behaved that way in the original Wrath, but it was less widespread. And now there's tons of people doing like AoE grinding, dungeon grinding, all these ideas of like people like, sorry, you want to come into our dungeon group? No, well, you need to like literally best slot gear from the last expansion to play because we want to do this fast because our goal is end game as opposed to having fun.
Yeah.
And that's the whole idea that Overwatch is now about to hit like its second massive motivational change for players. And it's going to get awkward real fast.
Yeah, bingo. I think that's it. So basically, to summarize that review, they're just feeling that the core gameplay changes like are in the right direction, but as an overall sequel and as an entity in itself, it does stumble and has those points of friction. So there you go. But basically, you know, Overwatch is all about dreaming big, dreaming about that good future, and there's still a bit more dreaming to be done. And really, for most of the other reviews, going through them all, similar. I don't think we need to really talk through them. I think
game different.
we can grab Windows Central, though, for more of a, I suppose, this is what a modern game should be, fantastic take, right? Because we should represent that as well. I've had more fun in Overwatch 2 throughout its early access period than I've ever had with the original in years. This is basically just Overwatch, but with significant gameplay changes, a new content development model, audiovisual makeover. Perhaps the two will feel justified when PvE launches in 2023. But other things, I care about the fact it's significantly more enjoyable and exciting than the original has been in ages. So again, that's just new stuff. And I guess, you know, excitement, right? There's things to go after, there's stuff to hunt. I care about not having to pull the lever of a virtual loot box slot machine anymore and actually being able to earn cosmetic items directly. I mean, I see that and I kind of think like, yeah, but if you're doing that just via weekly challenges, that is glacial. And then if you're doing it by the battle pass, well, it's a battle pass. It's a 9-week-long battle pass, and Mythic Genji is at the end of those 9 weeks. So, I mean, I do raise the eyebrow at that. I care about the move to free-to-play, which makes it easier than ever before to jump in and see what Blizzard's latest IP is all about. And, you know, the thing that I was thinking about, right? Did not being free-to-play hurt Overwatch? Like, I wouldn't say so.
I don't think so.
I mean, when you're going free-to-play, like, you absolutely are accessing more players, but...
That was never a problem for Overwatch.
Yeah, it's like Overwatch already had that super deep market penetration. I suppose for them, it's just like, yeah, we can get 40 quid from you once and have a low chance of turning you into a loot box whale, or we can make millions of minnows. And I think that's probably the overall goal. I don't think you're getting mobile game like whaling in a lot of these free-to-play, you know, AAA live services. Instead, I think you are getting minnow farming. Right? So, you know, the free-to-play people, they're just little planktons. They're small. Now, the whale is going to be the person who's dropping in there spending 30 grand, right? Where, you know, what Toralf Bjornstrom is talking about how you should have theoretically infinite monetization.
Yeah, Overwatch 2 definitely doesn't.
It definitely does not. But it's definitely there to make minnows out of, well, every single tech salary on Earth that wants to play Overwatch 2.
Well, that's why they have all of the play forever place. And also the rapid iteration of like, hey, we get new battle pass every couple weeks, and that's going to be the like constant monetization, constant drip feed. It's the almost subscription service kind of model where Destiny 2 does that, but very upfront. Destiny 2 is like, give us, was it like 60 quid a year, or like 15 quid a month, or sorry, not a month, 15 quid a season, and you're like, okay, well that sounds pretty fair, but they want to do it through battle passes and through hidden costs and through rotating cosmetics, where they just want to go constantly give us your money. We want this to be the only game you play. We want all of your spare money to be going in here. In the same way that, you know, people want like events to be held at bars and stuff, because then all the money is just, you're just there, you're hanging out there, so you're going to spend your money there. They want to do that with video games, and they are largely succeeding in that front, because that's how the entire market has moved, and Overwatch now is getting into that. Whereas 2016 was 4,000 years ago, in terms of how fast the game industry has evolved, or devolved, depending on how you want to look at it. But this idea of back in the day, full price game with loot box, that was fine. Full price game, that was a lot of money. That was very Blizzard at the time too. Very Blizzard, very we're premium. And they still had that rep, especially because they hadn't massively shit the bed with anything just yet. They had one bad World of Warcraft expansion, but they're also riding the high from Hearthstone and stuff like that. But now they're a very different company, and the industry is very different, so they're going to use different methods. Because why stay with the past when you can do a better monetized future? I think that's ultimately one of the problems we have here, where it's just different time. It's a different time, and Overwatch is different. It's just the fundamental problem, because I like, as much as I hate all these battle passes, I hate all the progression. Like, it is full on Rage Against the Machine, but the machine is very big, so what are you going to do? This isn't Shadow of the Colossus. I can't climb Blizzard and, you know, kill it from the top. It's that idea of, well, you just have to kind of live with it. But within the pragmatic, well, what's actually... Okay, these systems are a given, because we can't change those very easily. Right, okay, what can we talk about and change? And then it's like the game design. Or like, well, what's the game design? Oh, you're changing it to... effectively homogenize it and fit a little bit better into the existing shooter market instead of keep the USP that people really loved your game for originally, even though it's like there's objective ways substantially better. It's like subjectively, it's like, where's the soul? Where's the unique? Where's the creativity that made Overwatch special? Because if it's moving in this way, it might still be perfectly fine. It might be fun. It might be a great experience to play, but it's just culturally a bit less interesting. And that's where we come from, a pretty good angle where we can go, that game's great, but it's culturally not interesting, so let's not worry about it. We're kind of privileged in the games industry to have that kind of, hey, I would just go play anything else. It's great. But it still comes as like, Blizzard has always had this cultural responsibility of being Blizzard, making these great games.
Yeah, being the North Star.
Yeah, Overwatch was the last time they did that. And Overwatch 2 is going to be another point of, you're just like any of the rest now.
Yeah.
And it'll be the same with the new World of Warcraft expansion. It'll be like, this isn't peak MMO. This is alright for an MMO. This is, you're getting a little bit better. You're starting to grind back up to being actually good at making games again. But until we see like the survival game or something, everyone's gonna be like, Blizzard, oh yeah, they make alright games.
Yeah, it's like what I think we've long said is like, it took 2 dot expansions in a row to do this much, like, pretty permanent feeling damage to World of Warcraft's name. Yeah. It's going to take more than one pretty good expansion to repair that.
Same Blizzard.
And yeah, with Overwatch 1, it's like they did not feed that. They hurt Overwatch 1 to the point where Overwatch 2 is going to have sustained success to actually make that name be like super big and excited again. And I think it is just a shame that there are these points of friction. Yeah, man, what can I say? Everything turning into a free-to-play nightmare hellscape it's just really... You know, do you know what happens, right? The friction becomes the reason to play.
That is
the whole thing, and then they monetize the friction.
That's the entire point. They make a problem, sell you the solution to the problem.
Yeah.
No, like the people who are focused on making the game really good make the game really good if they want, but it's still like you're being undercut by all of the monetization systems because we've literally, I mean, obviously there is limited research. Science can always be later proven wrong, but in terms of the existing science on behavioral psychology and motivation, you're making games less fun by putting these systems in. You're making them more attention grabbing, but you're making them less fun. People will want to play them less.
Yeah.
It is the kind of, you're making games worse. Please stop this.
You're creating psychological, it's consumption, not fun. It's easy consumption, not fun. It is, okay. I think a really easy way to explain this is, do you ever have the thing where it's lunchtime and then you're out in the street outside your office, you're like, where am I going to go for lunch? And you're presented with like 8 choices and then you think,
Subway it is, and you just go to the dependable, easy thing. Yeah. I think that's what a lot of these games inadvertently have ended up competing for. They are competing from, you've worked your 9 to 5, maybe you've worked overtime, you don't have time to cook a meal, so maybe you got a Postmates or a Deliveroo or something, and you sit down, you're burned out, you're stressed, life's fucking hard, the news is everywhere, you can't escape it. Do you really have the energy to find a new indie game and play that and learn all of its rules? Or you could just go to Old Reliable, where you can do some virtual work for progress. And the thing is, a lot of MMOs, like your RuneScapes and stuff, that's what they did for so many of us when we were younger, right? You don't feel like you can success at school because it's fucking shit. So you just end up playing loads of MMOs and, you're like, fuck yeah, I organized a bunch of people, thus gaining my social skills. I did a whole bunch of auction house stuff, thus gaining some other skills. Oh, wow, look at this. I'm developing real human skills in a video game. This is cool. Fuck yeah, MMOs for life. And then what happens over time as the free-to-play happens is the purity is removed from that virtual work. And that's ultimately it. These free-to-play monetization things are like, do you want a nice, beautifully crafted dessert? Well, that's a lot of effort. That could even be a lot of effort to enjoy. The way you could just be so tired and burnt out that somebody could hand you like a Michelin star dessert and you'd be like, yeah, that was nice. And then you're like, oh, there's no more. What the fuck? Like, do you want that? Or do you just want to know that there's a tube of Pringles that is always going to serve you well forever? That's exactly what I was thinking. He's about to say Pringles.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Everyone knows examples. Everyone knows what those feel like. And that's where.
Pringles, they're known for like doing, the new flavors, right? Oh man, anything that does jalapeno cheese. Oh, I'm so weak to it. But that's the thing.
Once you pop, you can't stop.
Everyone's just trying to turn their game into a tube of Pringles. Overwatch is now a tube of Pringles. You can keep on playing forever, and it'll always give you a new thing to munch on. But that is what it is.
MMOs were that's what I think is like MMO vets. People are like way more capable of seeing this going.
Yes, we're like fucking woke to this shit because it assaulted us as children.
Yeah, it's like people have already had this journey and like, listen, this kind of stuff is extremely dangerous. It will completely destroy any form of motivation you have because it's literally hard. Like it is absolutely overriding your dopaminergic fucking impulses as a human because it's just completely destroying your behavioral psychology. People are really suffering with that, and it's like, well, this is going to be a weird side thing to go on, but it was, I can't remember his name, but is it Glyco, I think, the Japanese snack maker? Because Takeshi Mochizuki, the reporter who does a lot of like Japanese game stuff, He reported on it was this Glyco, this snack maker, hired people from PlayStation, from Sony and PlayStation, who were specifically AI, like researchers and stuff, and technicians to start doing machine learning and AI research and investigations into ingredients you can use in snacks that are healthier. Because he said, anything that any snack that Glyco makes should be able to contribute to people's well-being. And that's the thing where like games are on the opposite side of that now, where it's like it's all a free for all for attention. What is the long-term impact of this game on the player? Who gives a shit? And that's the thing where that's like, it's not necessarily the responsibility, but we are looking and going, man, this is going to get dark. This is going to get really dark for people before too long, because it's just the way it all works. And it's like, okay, well, we're gonna just have an epidemic of this. The same way mobile games are like leading to like a gambling epidemic. You're like, yeah, this shit's gonna be bad. But I mean, what do you do? You say you try to educate people. Try like, or please don't. Please stay away from this stuff. Or try to educate yourself so you know what to look out for and how not to do it. But they're heading into dark times because of just how it's all about attention stuff as opposed to everything else. That's why I have stuff like Healthy Gamer on the other end going, well, here's how to understand yourself and solve all these problems. Turns out that video games should be part of a healthy and balanced diet, as opposed to just kind of letting them do whatever they want.
Yeah, that's basically it. That's it. I think that I will enjoy jumping into Overwatch.
Same.
I will maybe put 20 or 30 hours into this game because, to be honest, really, I want to become pretty good at like a Valorant or an Apex. And I do feel like this will be an easy to pick up, play, and enjoy game. I'll probably try one of the more sweaty characters. I'll probably, unlock a few Bing Bing Wahoos or whatever. But I do think that for me, it will be a finite experience because I am just quite fundamentally just burnt out on a lot of the things, and in fairness for those other two games I mentioned, they also employ these systems, and it's just generally something that I'm burnt out on. But I'm basically saying I'm going to go into Overwatch 2, and I'm going to enjoy it for as long as I feel like I'm getting a unique and a novel experience. I would have been happy to pay them money up front, and I probably would play the game for a longer time overall if I did not have all of this stuff being involved. But unfortunately, that is the way that it is, and it's just something we've got to deal with now in modern gaming. Mm-hmm. That's basically it. So I suppose, let me know what you think about this whole situation, and well, we'll see you again probably tomorrow with the video, and certainly I think we'll both hop into the game and we'll let you know what we feel from experience playing it.
Yeah, because I'm a shameless weeb and I have to play Kiriko. I'm also support main, so that works.
Can't help himself.
Can't.
It's brutal affliction.
Yeah.
No, wish us luck. Goodbye.